I was half asleep and halfway through my coffee when I checked my phone and saw a 3-minute voicemail from my daughter's AP Calculus teacher. I hit play expecting something like, "Zara's missing a worksheet," or, "We need a permission slip." Nope. What I got was a screaming woman, furious that my 17-year-old daughter had gotten another A. "Your daughter got another A," she shouted like I should be ashamed. "This is the third perfect score in a row. Something's going on." I blinked. Was this real? Isn't that a good thing? I said aloud to no one, completely baffled. Apparently not. According to Mrs. Holloway, no black student in her 23 years of teaching had ever scored that high. Zara had to be cheating. Or memorizing. Or somehow rigging the system, because clearly it was impossible she just understood calculus. "She finishes too fast," Mrs. Holloway said, like that was evidence of a crime. "She never asks questions. She's too quiet. I've had her solve problems on the board. She got them right. Too right." I sat there in stunned silence, listening as this woman practically confessed to surveilling my daughter like a criminal. She said she was going to make Zara take her next test alone in the principal's office, with no calculator. I texted Zara immediately. "Did something happen in calc? Call me." She called 10 minutes later, confused and a little nervous. "Yeah, Mrs. Holloway said I have to take the next test by myself. I guess she thinks I'm cheating?" She told me the same thing. I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "But don't worry. Just keep doing what you're doing." So Zara took the next test in isolation. Scored another A+. Another voicemail. Another angry call. She must have memorized it. Holloway snapped. "I'm giving her a different version next time." I told her fine. Give her whatever version she wants. Next test? Different version. A+. And that's when Mrs. Holloway made her real move. "I'm recommending Zara be removed from AP Calculus," she said like it was a favor. "Her scores are disrupting the other students. They're beginning to question why they can't score as high." I almost dropped the phone. That's when I knew this wasn't about math anymore. This was about race. And I was about to go full parent advocate mode. So now I'm sitting across from the principal, Mr. Yates, in his sterile office that smells like whiteboard cleaner and disappointment, trying to explain that my daughter getting straight A's shouldn't be treated like a felony. "She's too good," I said, voice tight. "That's the problem, right?" Mr. Yates gave me this practiced, palms up shrug. "Mrs. Holloway is our most experienced math teacher. If she has concerns, she's accusing my daughter of cheating with no evidence. That's not a concern. That's a bias." He winced like the word physically pained him. "These things are complicated." "No. They're not. I started attending school board meetings. Public comment. First 3 minutes, all mine. I laid out what Holloway was doing. The isolation. The accusations. The paranoia over a black girl being good at math. I wasn't the only one. Destiny Williams' mom stood up next. She talked about how her daughter got accused of plagiarism and bumped down to regular math. Jordan Davis's dad said his son was hounded until he dropped the class. Malik Turner's mom? Tears in her eyes. Her son had panic attacks from being tested in isolation so often he switched schools. Same pattern. Same teacher. Same exact phrases. Finishes too fast. Doesn't ask questions. No black student has ever. I compiled everything. Voicemails, emails, notes. Made a folder thicker than a calculus textbook and sent it straight to the district superintendent. Mrs. Holloway didn't even blink. But when Zara qualified for the International Math Olympiad state team, filmed, proctored, no way to cheat, and scored top 5, suddenly Mrs. Holloway changed her tune. She told the newspaper she always believed in Zara. Said she pushed her hard because she saw potential. Gave interviews about how she nurtured talent. I was reading the article in stunned silence, my jaw somewhere near the floor, when I realized something. She wasn't just gaslighting my daughter. She was trying to steal credit for her success. So I forwarded every single accusatory voicemail and email to the district superintendent. The gaslight was about to meet the blowtorch. That's when things exploded. Less than 24 hours after I sent the emails, I got a call from the superintendent's office. Not an assistant. Not a secretary. The man himself, Dr. Pearson, wanted to meet in person. Tomorrow morning. I didn't sleep that night. I was too busy printing every receipt I had. Color-coded, time-stamped, organized like I was preparing to defend a PhD. Only this thesis was titled, "Why My Daughter Deserves to Exist in Advanced Math Without Being Treated Like a Criminal." When I walked into Dr. Pearson's office, he shook my hand like it weighed something. Like he already knew. He read through a few of the emails in front of me. His face changed, from polite interest to visible nausea. I could practically see him realizing this wasn't some petty parent complaint. This was systemic. This falls under discrimination protocols, he said, voice tight. I nodded. It's not just Zara. It's a pattern. He asked permission to loop in the district compliance officer. By 4 p.m., she was on the phone with me. Diane Hewitt. Calm voice. Sharp questions. She scheduled a 2-hour interview for the next day. And just like that, a real investigation began. Meanwhile, Mrs. Holloway? Acting twitchy. Zara said she was stammering in class, avoiding eye contact, teaching like she was waiting for someone to yank her off stage with a hook. Zara didn't know about the investigation yet. I didn't want to burden her. But Diane? She went full detective. Interviewed me. Interviewed the other families. Interviewed students. Even a few white parents came forward, saying they always felt Holloway treated black students differently, even if they didn't know how to name it. Then came the bombshell. Diane called to tell me Mrs. Holloway had been placed on paid leave pending the outcome of the investigation. A sub was taking over her classes. Zara came home and said the sub actually encouraged questions. Treated everyone like they were capable. For the first time in months, my daughter wasn't coming home drained. She came home smiling. But it didn't end there. Because the district had a bigger problem now. Holloway wasn't just a teacher under review. She was their potential Teacher of the Year nominee. And the person she tried to destroy was now the face of her success. That PR disaster was about to blow wide open. The article dropped that weekend. Front page of the local education section. Gifted students triumph for district's failure? There was Zara's photo, big smile, math medal around her neck, right next to a pull quote from Mrs. Holloway's old interview claiming she'd nurtured Zara's talent. But now, below that, the paper ran excerpts from the voicemails I'd sent. Holloway's words in black and white. No black student has ever scored this high in my class. She finishes too fast. That's impossible. She must be getting help. Boom. The district issued a formal statement confirming that Mrs. Holloway was under investigation for discriminatory treatment. They didn't name her directly, but everyone knew. The article triggered a flood. Other parents came forward. One anonymous email from a retired teacher detailed how Holloway had always been like this, suspicious of black kids who excelled, obsessed with proving they had outside help. Diane called me a few days later. We've expanded the investigation. There's a pattern, she said. No kidding. Meanwhile, Zara was trying to live her life. She went to the National Math Olympiad, didn't place in the top 10, but she belonged there. The other kids treated her like a peer. Like she earned her spot, because she did. She came home beaming, full of stories about strategy sessions and number theory jokes only a math nerd could love. Then we got Diane's call. The investigation was wrapping up. Final interviews done. The report would be sent to the superintendent within days. Zara still didn't know the full scope. She only knew Holloway was out on leave. I'd been waiting, guarding her peace. But one night she sat on the couch next to me, textbook in lap, and asked, "Why does it feel easier to breathe in class now?" I told her everything. Her face went still, then red, then pale. She stared at the floor for a long minute. I thought I was imagining it, she whispered. I started believing maybe I really wasn't that smart. I wrapped my arms around her. You're brilliant, Zara. She saw that brilliance and tried to break it because it didn't fit her story. Zara didn't cry. But she clenched her jaw and said something I'll never forget. I don't want her fired because of me. I want her fired because she shouldn't be allowed to do this to anyone else. I nodded. Let's make sure that happens. The final report landed with the weight of a gavel. Diane called me first. Her voice, usually so neutral, held a clear edge of fire. We found substantial evidence of discriminatory treatment based on race, she said. The report recommends formal disciplinary action, probation, and removal from AP assignments. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding since October. Dr. Pearson called later that day. He didn't dodge. He apologized. Not in that week, PR coded. We regret if feelings were hurt. Way. He said the district failed Zara, and the others, by not seeing the pattern sooner. We let this go on far too long. He admitted. We owe your daughter more than words. I agreed to meet with him again before the announcement went public. When I walked into that office, he slid the printed report across the table. My hands trembled as I flipped through page after page confirming what we'd lived. She watched Zara like a hawk. She didn't believe black students could outperform her expectations. She'd accused 3 others. She'd never filed formal reports, just whispers, isolation, concerns. She would not be fired. Tenure and union protections made that nearly impossible. But she was done teaching AP. She was placed on a 2-year probation with mandatory bias training, regular classroom observation, and a formal reprimand in her permanent record, one that followed her to any future district. Her Teacher of the Year nomination? Withdrawn. It felt anticlimactic, but also like a win. She'd built a fortress of seniority and whispered racism, and for the first time, someone cracked it open. There would be no more gut feelings used as evidence. The district created new policies requiring written documentation of academic dishonesty concerns, new bias training, a review committee to track racial disparities, and something even more shocking, they invited me to join that committee as a parent representative. Meanwhile, Zara's name spread across the district like wildfire. Not as a cheater, but as a champion. The district posted photos of her receiving a math Olympiad certificate. Parents started requesting to transfer their kids into her AP class, the one Mrs. Holloway no longer taught. Zara still struggled with anxiety. She had nightmares about being falsely accused. Her therapist helped. So did the supportive new teacher, Mr. R. Williams, who treated her like a student, not a threat. One day she came home holding an AP test score, 5 out of 5. I watched her tape it on her wall, right above her desk. No screaming teacher could take that away. That summer, Zara enrolled in a university-run math program for gifted high school students. 6 weeks. 5 days a week. Real college professors. Real nerds. I drove her the first morning, half expecting her to be nervous. Instead, she bounced out of the car, waved once with a grin, and vanished through the campus doors like she'd been waiting her whole life to be surrounded by people who got it. She came home that night buzzing. We did proofs all afternoon. One kid found a shortcut that stumped the TA. I loved it. It was the first time in a long time I saw that unfiltered spark in her. No second guessing. No walls up. Just joy. She made friends. Friends who didn't flinch when she said she liked integration by parts. Friends who didn't ask who helped her or act surprised when she got something right. They just talked math. Meanwhile, the district moved forward with their new equity policies. Bias training rolled out for every teacher before the fall semester. And yes, the curriculum included case studies. Anonymous, of course. But one looked eerily familiar. I watched teachers shuffle into the auditorium for the training, some wide-eyed, some side-eyeing the facilitator. I wondered how many recognized themselves in the stories. In late August, I got a call from Marina, Destiny's mom. Her daughter, the one who was kicked from pre-calc? She was enrolling in AP Stats this year. She feels safer now, Marina said, her voice breaking. Like it's finally okay to try again. I blinked back tears. That mattered. Reed called too. His son Jordan had decided not to go back into advanced math. He's thriving in literature, Reed said. Loves poetry. Found his place. And that mattered too. Healing doesn't always mean returning to the battlefield. Sometimes it means choosing a new map. And then, another twist. I got a message from Diane. 2 new complaints. Parents from Mrs. Holloway's new school. She'd been reassigned to teach geometry, not AP. But guess what? Same behavior. Same suspicion when black students excelled. Thanks to the disciplinary record we helped build, Diane said the district was already investigating. This time, there'd be no delay. No shrugged off concerns. Mrs. Holloway's pattern had followed her. But now, so had the accountability. And somewhere across town, 2 more families weren't being gaslit into silence. The thick envelope arrived on a rainy Friday afternoon. Zara's top choice university, the one with the prestigious math program and research opportunities, had finally sent its decision. She opened it at the kitchen table, hands shaking, eyes darting across the letter. Then she froze. Her lips parted, but no words came. I leaned in. "What is it?" She turned the letter so I could see. "We are thrilled to offer you admission and a full scholarship in recognition of your outstanding achievements in mathematics and academic resilience." Zara read the paragraph again, slower this time. Then she just whispered, "They believe me. Not because of what happened, but in spite of it." That night, I took the letter to a frame shop and picked out a clean black frame with a white mat. We hung it in the living room. Not because she needed reminding, but because everyone who walked in our house should know, Zara Johnson is brilliant. And no one gets to question that again. Meanwhile, the school board invited her to the January meeting. They wanted to recognize her publicly for her math Olympiad performance and college acceptance. She wore a navy blazer and her calmest smile. When they handed her the certificate, the room erupted in applause. After the meeting, 3 board members quietly pulled me aside. Each one apologized. For not taking the earlier complaints seriously. For protecting Holloway under the guise of experience. One said, "Your advocacy changed how we approach every complaint now." And the ripple effect kept growing. Destiny got into a state university honors program. Jordan earned a full ride for history and plans to study education. Malik's family sent a message through Diane. He's majoring in computer science now, thriving. One by one, the kids who were told they didn't belong started proving they always did. Zara spent the rest of senior year mentoring younger students, especially those who reminded her of herself. She helped a nervous 9th grader through his first math competition, explained limits and derivatives with patience that would make a saint jealous. When I asked why she volunteered so much, she just said, "I'm giving them what I needed." A room where no one assumes you're cheating just because you're smart. Then came graduation. Zara was valedictorian. She stood at that podium in her cap and gown and gave a speech about perseverance. About proving yourself through excellence. About how sometimes the system makes you explain over and over why you deserve to be in the room. She never said Mrs. Holloway's name, but everyone in that gym knew. The summer before college, Zara took a job as a teaching assistant in a community math program for middle schoolers, mostly students of color. The kind of kids who got told, "Math isn't really your thing," before they even touched algebra. I'd drop her off at the community center every morning and watch her stride in with her backpack, already scribbling formulas in the margin of her lesson plan. By week 2, she knew all their names. By week 3, they knew she was the real deal. "She explains things like she knows we'll get it," one kid told me I'd pick up. "Like it's normal to be good at math." That was the whole point. Zara didn't lecture from a whiteboard. She sat on the floor with them, talked through their logic, let them stumble without shame. She'd once been made to feel like every mistake was proof she didn't belong. Now, she was building a room where mistakes were part of the learning, not part of a case against your intelligence. One afternoon, she came home quiet. Not sad. Just full. "There's this girl, Nia," she said. "She kept saying she wasn't a math person." I asked who told her that. She said her 5th grade teacher. 5th grade, Dad? She shook her head slowly. "We're not born doubting ourselves. Someone teaches us to." I didn't know what to say. So I just hugged her. We were packing for college when the final ripple from the Holloway fallout landed in my inbox, an email from the district's data committee. The new equity policy we'd helped push through, the one requiring academic integrity concerns to be documented with actual evidence, had changed everything. Last year, Black and Latino students were 3 times more likely to be accused of cheating than their white and Asian classmates. This year, the rates were nearly equal. Teachers couldn't go with a feeling anymore. They needed facts. And without bias hiding behind intuition, the numbers told the real story. Black students weren't less honest. They were just more scrutinized. The policy wouldn't erase every racist assumption. But it made it harder for those assumptions to become consequences. That mattered. As we boxed up Zara's room, I asked her what she'd learned from it all, from Holloway, from the fight, from the healing. She paused, then sat on the edge of her bed. "That doing excellent work is the best revenge," she said. "But it shouldn't have to be revenge." I shouldn't have to outperform suspicion to be treated like a student. Her voice stayed calm, but I could feel the weight behind it. I don't want kids who look like me to think math is some secret club they need a password to enter. She picked up her old calculus book, the one she'd studied with while Holloway stalked her every move, and slipped it into her college box like a final middle finger to doubt. A week before move-in day, we got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From her new AP calculus teacher, Mr. Williams. He thanked her for her mentorship. For her leadership. For making his classroom better just by being in it. You made this year feel like what teaching is supposed to be. He wrote. Your excellence lifted the whole room. Zara didn't say anything when she finished reading. She just added it to her college folder next to her scholarship letter. Move-in day was chaos. Dorms stuffed with wide-eyed freshmen, parents pretending not to cry, elevators slower than erosion. Her roommate was another math major, and they bonded instantly over set theory and the absurdity of people who say, math just isn't for them. I watched them talk about proofs like other kids talk about music. Zara was alive in a way I hadn't seen since she was little, scribbling multiplication tables in sidewalk chalk. The day I left her at college, we hugged outside her dorm for longer than necessary. I almost said something corny like, go make us proud. But she pulled back and said it first. You already did. You didn't let them bury me. I got back in the car, sat behind the wheel, and finally let myself cry. 3 days later, she texted me after her first college calculus class. Prof is amazing. He treats everyone like they belong. Learning was supposed to feel like this. And there it was. Not closure. Not revenge. Restoration. The following semester, Zara joined the university's peer mentorship program. She tutored freshmen in calculus, especially first-gen and underrepresented students, and led a seminar called Mathematics and Belonging, where she didn't just teach limits and integrals. She taught students how to see themselves as worthy of the spaces they were in. Meanwhile, back home, the district hired 2 new math teachers to replace Holloway. Both were interviewed by a panel that included parents, a first. I was on that panel. I asked every candidate, how would you support a student excelling beyond your expectations? Especially if that student doesn't look like what the world expects from a math whiz. Some gave rehearsed answers. Some gave honest ones. But 2 of them stood out. One had built a summer camp for girls of color in STEM. The other had studied equity in math education during their master's program. We hired both. Enrollment in AP Calculus the next year jumped. 12 black students. Up from 3. Parents who'd previously held their kids back from advanced courses told me they felt safe now. Like the system might actually protect their children instead of punishing their brilliance. One mother said, I watched what you all did. I'm not afraid to fight anymore. In September, the district invited me to speak at a parent forum on equity advocacy. 50 parents. 1 microphone. My knees shook behind the podium, but I told Zara's story, carefully, respectfully, but truthfully. I told them to document everything. Save every email. Write down every quote. Don't wait to be dismissed. Don't accept concerns as truth when there's no proof. Institutions count on your silence. I said. So don't be silent. Afterward, parents lined up to talk. One mom said her daughter was being tracked into regular English despite test scores that said otherwise. A dad said his son was discouraged from AP chemistry. Another said their child was always the only black student in their advanced classes and never once praised for it. Different schools. Same pattern. I gave them my contact info. We built a group chat. A network. A coalition. Because Holloway wasn't the only one. And Zara wasn't the last. But we weren't alone anymore. That was the difference. At the end of the semester, Zara came home for winter break. We made hot chocolate and stayed up late talking on the couch like we hadn't done since before it all began. She told me about her new math professor. He says elegance is just when a solution feels inevitable. I smiled. That sounds like you. Later that week, she visited her old high school and sat in on Mr. Williams' new AP Calculus class. The students stared at her like a celebrity when she walked in. She stayed after to help one girl with a particularly nasty implicit differentiation problem. The girl looked nervous. Zara leaned in and said, You've got this. Just trust your brain. You belong here. And that was it. Full circle. Zara, once accused of being too smart to be real, was now the one making sure the next brilliant black girl never had to prove she was real in the first place. She wasn't just solving equations anymore. She was solving a system. And this time, the answer wasn't in the back of the book. It was right here.